Who is Wade Hobba?
So, who is Wade Hobba? Normally, I'm the one asking the questions. This is unique, but Wade Hobba has changed significantly because my whole identity was based around being a dad, and I wore that role like that was my everything, and we'll talk about it later in this chat, but that was taken away from me. So when I lost that, I was like, shit, who am I? What do I stand for? And so I've been learning myself the last 12 to 18 months. I've been learning who I am and what I stand for, what my non-negotiables are. And now I'm Wade, the reliable one, Wade the carer. I've always been Wade the protector since a young age. That's what I always was taught: protect, being a big brother, protect, look after your siblings, have everyone's back. You know, first one in, make sure that you look after everyone, and that manifested throughout adult life because I had, in a sense, disregard for myself. I'd always put others first, but that's how I was rewarded from a young age, and that's why I pride myself. If I was protecting, that's me doing my job. I get a pat on the back for that.
So would you say you're a bit of a sheepdog? You're the protecting your herd?
100%. And that's where I got all my validation. So we'll go back. I was a young lad growing up in Fairfield, northern suburbs, and you would have seen in a previous chat, life was really unique growing up. Mum had a massive brain hemorrhage. I was 7 years old, and I walked out into the lounge room, and Mum was having a massive brain hemorrhage in front of us. My brother was 5. My brother was 2. There's 5 years between us. And my sister was 4 days old. And the next 12 months after that, we were told Mum's in heaven. It was extremely confusing as a young kid, but it was just instilled in me from day dot. You got to be your brother's keeper, you know. You got to look after him, and that's how that originated. So
it's not only in your nature but your nurture. You were sort of made to be this rock.
Yeah,
this pillar of support and protection. Yeah,
bloody oath. And as I said, that's what I got my appraisal from, my validation. That's what I thought love was. If I tick that box, and I was holding up my end, like I'm being a good boy. I'm doing my job. This is my purpose. So being a protector, big brother. From early days, that was my identity.
And in your early days, how did that sort of affect your social life and your friends? Did it have any effect at all?
Putting others before me, having disregard for my own safety. Like I've been bottled. It led me into a career path. So growing up in the north, Mum and Dad had a huge. They prioritised education. So they did everything they could to put me through a private school, and I've got a lot of regret there because I let them down in a sense. They sacrificed so much, but my blessing and my curse was I was quite clever, but it was a curse in a sense that I could get by with doing bare minimal. So I'd do all right anyway.
Do you still carry any of that guilt with you?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
And how does that present itself to you? That guilt, where do you see it?
Becoming a coulda, shoulda, woulda. Being a coulda, shoulda, woulda. That consumed me for a long time. And now it's given me the lesson that I just pull the trigger on things. You know, I just pull the trigger.
Make the executive decision.
Yeah, don't leave anything in the tank. If you're going to do something, you may as well do it to the best of your ability, Otherwise, you don't do it at all.
That's right. That's exactly right. A massive lesson that a lot of young men go through is a job worth doing should be a job well done. You shouldn't leave anything on the table. If you're going to do something, do it well.
Yeah, and the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So just having those set of standards, but as I said, it could have been people pleasing, but I put others before me. So I'll let this slide. It's not a biggie. I won't do this for me because, you know, I'm more worried about other people's outcomes. And, you know, it affected me. It affected me big time. And especially when, you know, you're willing to put your body on the line for others, sacrifice your own safety, and that's not reciprocated. I learned some lessons where that really hurt, you know, it really bloody hurt.
Yeah. So while we're on the topic of the past, as a young fella in your early teenage years, being the sheepdog, the rock for a lot of people, what was it like going to private school, doing the bare minimum? What was it like? What were some very formative moments as a young person?
I didn't fit in. I was living between two worlds. So my best mate at the time he was a heroin addict. So my social life outside of school, I'm spending my weekends playing cricket, going to movies, spending time with my mate who's a heroin addict. And then I'm catching a train and a bus and walking to Bulleen and going to a private school where I'm not sort of at that socioeconomic end. So I didn't fit into either world. I had to learn how to become this chameleon in a ball pit, in a sense, where I wasn't necessarily living true to my own identity. I was just floating in between other people's worlds.
Would you say that formed a lot of issues with self-love and identity?
In a sense, because I never felt like I belonged. I didn't have a sense of belonging. But in a way, it gave me perspective that opened up a whole new insight. I was exposed to both extremes of the spectrum, whether it was rubbing shoulders with people of affluence and wealth, and then on the weekends at 15, going to as many chemists as we could, trying to score Demizen to be able to get some pocket money and sell it to pseudo dealers. You know, it was a complete. I was living this sort of 1 foot in this world, 1 foot out, in a sense, and it sort of meant that I myself didn't prioritize my own education. You know, I was just doing what I could to fit in. You know, and you know, I'd be a bit of a class clown, so that affected me. But yeah, I was clever enough to do all right. But mum and dad made so much sacrifice for me to go to these schools that I really let them down.
Were they aware of the people you hung around with? Did you voice your pastimes and your mates to them very much, or you just sort of did what they thought you were there to do, go to school, go play cricket? Did they know that you had these sort of people in your life, probably less fortunate people in your life?
Yeah, I wasn't running amok too bad, but mum knew that like they were good kids, you know. They were good kids from a really tough home. We were playing at the same cricket club, and mum knew that, you know, I wouldn't be led astray. She knew that I'd probably be a good influence on him, you know. And I was, and it turned full circle. So I then went to uni, and I wanted to become a lawyer, right? But as I said, I mucked up a little bit, but I did all right, got into uni, and I studied criminal justice, sort of pathway towards law, because I wanted to help young blokes that I grew up with. I wanted to break cycles and just be a help and
make a difference.
yeah, make a difference. Make a difference. I'd seen it firsthand. Hadn't read it in a book. Like I'd seen it. I lived it. And back to what I was saying about protecting, you know, it's just obviously in my nature. I wanted to help people.
Protecting on a greater scale, making a difference to stop those, like you said, cycles and bad habits and generational traumas and family names, putting a
Amen. Yeah.
stop to it.
Yeah. But my partner at the time fell pregnant. We were quite young. I got a job, government job, as a youth worker. So working with the young boys that, you know, I was knocking about with.
You would have seen a lot.
Yeah. It really affected me, that job. I was there for nearly 10 years and I had to leave. It was mutual.
As a carer, I'm sure a lot of those boys in there, naturally, you want to be able to help. But was there a moment where you had to understand that some people you just can't help?
That's a good question. I never like to give up on people. However, when you're working in these environments, you can become institutionalize yourself, and you can become quite bitter. And I saw that creeping in. But so you have to understand my role. Originally, I was a youth worker. We'd wear casual clothes to work, and then there was this transition. The government actually made transition into staff would wear uniforms, and then there was an introduction of a CERT team, Safety Emergency Response Team. And I was young, like I was really young at the time. Became team leader of the CERT team at 25. I was a big lad, northern suburbs. I had covered in tattoos, and a lot of the young people that were incarcerated were from my area. So my superpower was my ability to build rapport. I'm not too dissimilar in age. I was interesting to look at, and I could resonate with a lot of young kids. But then I was conflicted at the same time that I'm coming from a rapport building standpoint, and then there's this expectation of authoritarian discipline. You're a CERT team, and some of the stuff that it was just a melting pot of violence. We're talking young people between the ages of, 15 to 18, even younger, just that have been exposed to extreme violence and are just trying to survive. And the vicarious, I take my hat off to the staff there, because the vicarious trauma that you're exposed to. I was part of an incident where one of my colleagues had his throat slit with a poker tin, the tin lids. He had his throat slit. I responded to one of my good mates. He had his head stomped on, and I remember putting him in the recovery position. His body was just stiff as a ball. I thought he was dead. I've been bitten by intravenous drug users, and just the trauma with the young fellas, like constantly preventing young people from trying to take their own lives, cutting ligatures from around people's necks. It was just a melting pot of violence and a melting pot of trauma. And as a 25-year-old young man, I was conflicted in my own identity and where I belong in life. There was a lot to absorb, and the supports weren't the best. And I destroyed my knees working there as well. And so I was taken off full-time duties, where now I had a really good team around me at the time, but now I'm completely excluded from my team. So I've lost all my supports. These images are just flooding my brain, right? And now the surgeon said that I needed both my knees replaced. And if we operate and replace them now, the likelihood of you becoming a dual amputee are quite high, because I'd have to replace a replacement. It put me in, because of my age at the time, put me in a real precarious position. So I underwent some less invasive surgeries, and this is where the painkillers started. So this all correlated. In regards to the timeline, this is the same time my son's born. So my youngest is born. I'm taken off work. These images are haunting me, like absolutely haunting. And I'm disabled. I can't move. My legs are fucked. And I'm prescribed some real heavy medications, and it put me on a real downhill spiral.
It gave you temporary relief for a less temporary problem.
Temporary relief, but created bigger problems. I'm away from my supports. How do I drown out these thoughts, these images? It'd be to take a tablet. When one tablet didn't work, I take two. When two doesn't work, I have a beer with it, But this is all legal. Alcohol's legal. There's nothing wrong with alcohol.
You got a prescription?
I got a prescription. It's not illegal. I don't doctor shop. My script's filled out at the end of the month. Bang. But it was funny. They said, we're going to try you on this new medication. It's non-addictive. It's a non-addictive opioid. And before you knew it, things started to get prickly. Yeah.
How'd that affect your family life?
Family life, it's interesting because what it did, because my son was born and I was off work, I was Mr. Mum. So I was home with them all day. It did, and I'd only use my medications in the evening. I'd be fine during the day. All the noise, all that internal chatter happened at night time. So when the kids were in bed, that's when I'd get on, But during the day, I was all right and I was able to be more present. I'd gone from working 12-hour shifts and not being there at all to now being able to do school drop-off. But it has its toll. Not only on external relationships, I self-isolated. I excluded myself from my family. I didn't speak to my parents for years and years and years. My friendship groups completely lost because I just internalized. I just isolated myself. But when you talk about relationships, the biggest relationship that was affected was the relationship with myself. As a man whose identity is being a protector, can't protect anyone anymore. My body's cooked. I'm off work. I'm a Mr. Mum, so my self-value, like my value of self, was completely diminished, and that became really tricky. My relationship with myself,
while still navigating who you are as a young person, still mid-20s.
Yeah, so I'm now 30 now.
30, still very young. I'd say most people haven't really 100% figured out who they are. Being alone more than ever now with this short-term fix that you didn't see as a problem, what happened from there?
I went down a lot of alcohol, binge drinking, substance misuse, my painkillers.
Still all at night? Or did it creep into the day?
Nah, mostly at night. Yeah. I stayed highly functioning during the day. Yeah.
And now I can see some of your tattoos on your hands. I can see some crosses on your fingers. What's the background behind those?
So I'm heavily tattooed. People ask, what are your most painful tattoos? These tattoos hurt, yeah. And I say these ones because I have a cross for every loved one that's passed away. And that takes me to another part. So I got my life together. I had a near miss. So from medications, I ruptured an ulcer, and I had some internal bleeding. So I went to hospital and had to have a blood transfusion. You see, and it was a wake up call for me, and I went cold turkey from everything, give up everything, and no more painkillers. I was starting to kick ass, you know. And then I invested in a business, started to turn my life around. And where I'm going with this, everything can change so quick. My partner at the time, we'd recently been married, left me. Remember when I was talking about before identity, a father? That was gone. Remember when I was talking about identity as a protector? I don't know where my kids are. I can't protect them. So my whole identity was just being stripped, and I was just in limbo. And
did that amplify the substance use? Did you get back on?
No, not necessarily. So it doesn't stop there. Next day, my head's spinning. I got on the piss. That was my tool. That was my autopilot. When the ship hits the sand, my autopilot would be go to Dr. Jim Beam. All right? And when Dr. Jim didn't give me the advice I wanted, I went and got a second opinion from Dr. Jack Daniels, you know. That was my autopilot. But I'd beaten that. And I was 6 months sober. Like I'd beaten that. But I felt the pull for my autopilot. Felt that creeping in. So kids leave, next day my friend dies. And then that pull's getting louder and louder. So I went to the bottle shop. I'm having a few drinks. And I just crashed. Like I hadn't slept in since it all had happened. And I fell asleep on the couch. And I wake up the next day, day 3. And my phone's ringing. And it's my dad. And I look at it. And remember when I was talking about self-isolation? That's my technique. I'm a pretty private person. I didn't want the world knowing what was going on. And my dad's calling. And I don't know if anyone listening's ever had this, but it's like this intuitive feeling.
Intuition.
Yeah. And I'm like, I got to get this. And I answer it. I said sheepishly, hello. And he says, it's your sister. Your sister's dead. And I take the phone away from my ear and I look at it. And I don't know if I'm in a dream or... And I go, sorry? He's, Remy's, your sister's died. And from that point, for the next couple of weeks, is a blur. I just knew that this was no longer about me. Whatever I'd been going through, the stakes are now just doubled. What can I do to support my parents now? So
Sheepdog. That rock.
So I went up there and it was just, I couldn't make sense of it, you know. I couldn't make sense of it. And I became looking externally, why me? Why me? Like why? Asking questions, why? And I was very lucky. Very lucky in a sense that whether it's coincidence, divine timing, I'd come across some really good people in those days. And the difference between me making and breaking was the supports that I had at that time. So once the dust had settled and I'd sort of been around mum and dad, I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. So I took off to my beach house, and my whole ideology was just wipe yourself out. Just, this is too fucking hard. Just wipe yourself out. And so I went up there and all sorts of thoughts going through my head. That internal dialogue, that chatter, overwhelming. And one of these people that were in my corner, Tommy Bellman, he'd given me a book to read, and it was Jim Rohn, The Art of Exceptional Living. And, how can you read a book when all this is going on?
You're thinking, what's this?
Exactly.
What's this going to do for me? You didn't understand.
I don't have time to read a book. I'm so happy that, I got it on Audible and I was just listening to it. And something stood out. Jim Rohn says something along the lines of, what you have is what you have attracted by the person you have become. And I was like, wow. Like, it's just all hit me. Everything that I've attracted or everything that's going on in my life were due to decisions or things that I had done, how I was showing up. A bloke I used to look up to for motivation, inspiration was Ray Lewis. And he talks about this tale when, his back's against the wall and he's going through all these things, and a whisper comes to his ear and it says, "Can you hear me now?" And that he says that's the first time he heard God so clearly. And the reason why this story gives me goosebumps, because I'm out on this walk trying to make sense of Jim Rohn. And then all of a sudden this owl comes down and just lands right next to me and is just staring at me. I don't know if you've seen videos of owls before, but they're the only bird that microphones can't pick them up when they fly. They're no sound at all. And it just stared at me, and then bang. I thought that was my "can you hear me now" moment.
Owls in a lot of cultures are a symbol of wisdom.
Sorry, what was that?
Owls in a lot of cultures are a symbol of wisdom.
Yeah.
And wisdom is gained by experience, challenge, overcoming it, and understanding how you did that. Let's stay in this area until you had that ownership. Before ownership comes blame. When all of this was happening, when substance abuse was at its peak, you still didn't know who you were, and everything was everywhere. Did you point any fingers?
Yeah. 3 stages of it. First stage, I blamed myself heavily. Second stage, I blamed others. Why would you take my kids? They're my kids. Third stage, where I'm at now, I don't blame anyone. But each stage was important because they fueled the path that I was going on. If I didn't blame myself, I wouldn't have wanted to rectify the path that I was going on. If I didn't blame others, it wouldn't give me the fuel to fight. When I was blaming others, I said to myself, if you're that bold to put my reputation on the line, I'm as bold as you are to fight for it. And now I am, and I don't blame anyone. I understood that this would pass. It took a long time, took a lot of pain, but it's passed now. And thankfully, I didn't speak to my boys for 12 months, and thankfully, I now have them full time. I have my identity back. But I came to them, I come back to them as a man with a whole new toolkit. and I'm clear in myself and who I am and what I stand for and what I bring to the table. Better father than ever.
And what did that do for your habits?
Oh, everything. Massive audit. And that's how that's how Derek was born, the Derek program. So I go off to my beach house to write myself off. Mentor gives me Jim Rohn. Bang, light bulb moment. I start understanding that actions and decisions that I made have all added up, they've all filtered in, and they've got me to this point. Then an owl swoops me. Can you hear me now? So now I'm taking on this lesson. Okay, yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. This isn't happening to me anymore. This is happening for me. There's a greater purpose here. So I looked like bloody Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind. Out came the butcher paper and I'm drawing Venn diagrams of, what got me to this point. What were my habits? What did my relationships look like? What was my attitude like? What was my lifestyle? What was my purpose? I was just like a fart in the wind. I thought, I'm working all the time, but I wasn't living a life that was congruent with my purpose because I wasn't even aware what my purpose was. So I started to understand what got me to this point. And as I said, ownership, honesty, they're all integral parts. And I audited everything. And Derek programs started to be born. I started to understand the power of choices, and I started to apply them to my life. Started to create healthy habits, focus on my relationship with myself and others, focus on my lifestyle, holistically, mind, body, and spirit. That purpose that I was talking about, I asked myself, if life was a video game, what would the objective be? What would winning the game of life look like? As our purpose, yeah? And it kept coming down to exploration, living life full of adventure. So that became important, understanding that my purpose is to live life to the fullest, enjoy it, and explore with my kids.
Like you said, life is a bit like a video game. A video game's a narrative. And everyone's got their own. But in every narrative, there's humps, there's ridges. In games, there's bosses. During that time of refining your purpose, you've got a bigger project to build with your brand new toolkit. You've got a new outlook on life. Was there any moments where something got in the way of that and you thought it was over?
That always creeps in, especially because 12 months away from my everything, my boys, that's enough to destroy any man, anyone. They're my world. And I woke up every single day not knowing when I'll speak to them, whether I'll hear from them. Every day I kept hope and optimism. And every day when that ended and I was no closer to a phone call, that hope and optimism diminished. Then I'd have to try to fill it back up the next day. So that was creeping in all the time. However, your network is your net worth. And in creating my Derek program, I created an army behind me of support. So when this external issues were creating internal noise, I had a whole group of people that I could dive into, say, hey, this is going on. And we could have a chat. Before that, remember I spoke about those doctors? Now I don't need to go to that because I'd created my network. And when we talk about net worth, so often we think of it as dollars and cents. But I like to look at it, what's your happiness bank account? How full is that? Your energy bank account. So if I'm in a room with 4 other people, I'll be product of I'll become the 5th of that.
Law of attraction.
Exactly. And I love footy and I like sports psychology. If you're in a room of winners that are driving standards, high standards, naturally you'll be part of that. you'll start to live to those or rise to those standards. Opposite, if you're in a room with 4 negative people, you're going to become the 5th negative people. That energy is contagious, and you just become what you surround yourself with.
Energy is contagious. I love that. And after you got your boys back, did they see you any different? Was there anything they said that let you know externally that you're on the right path? Was there a moment where something was said, a new habit was formed, you noticed something where you realised I'm on the right path?
Yes, but it's more the opposite. They didn't speak about the change. Remember when we were talking about blame? I was blaming myself, thinking that I was a bad person, or I'd done, because they weren't in my life, it was all my fault. Remember, blaming myself? But behind closed doors, in those 12 months, they expressed they were missing me like crazy. So I was blaming myself for things that didn't necessarily exist. So when they came into my life, it was rinse and repeat. We're so happy to be back. We're so happy we've got our dad back. Don't worry about the new and improved. They missed me. So it was because we're so critical of ourselves, especially when we're reflecting. We're so critical and harsh of ourselves, and we start to invent narratives that didn't actually exist because we're so hypercritical of ourselves. So it was quite relieving that I knew that, I still had that impact on them.
So you had that impact on your boys, and you're still the protector. It's in your nature. It's in your blood. It's in your code. And now you've got this group of people around you, the Derek program. What hand did they have in forming who you are today?
Everything. It's a reciprocal relationship. I wouldn't be where I am today without them, and vice versa. And that's why I'm so proud of him. Not what got me to this, but I didn't let my pain be in vain, I turned my pain into purpose. And I didn't want anyone else to have to walk that road alone. Life's going to happen. So people are going to go through some difficult times. But the lessons that I learned, turning my pain into fuel, reflection, the tools that we study that we work on in the Derek program, I now have a base where I can share that with others, and we share it with each other. We call it our toolbox. It's awesome, and just having a group of people, a community of people.
You might not always have the tools to fix your own problems, but someone else might.
100%.
Where'd you get the name?
The name Derek. A friend of mine actually came up with Derek. We were working on this together. He was living with me at the time, and there was some references in pop culture, Step Brothers, the brother. But we were just floating names, and he said, "Oh, Derek." For some reason, Derek stands out, and it's become really catchy. It grew legs. It really did grow legs. It's sort of become its own Karen in a sense. Our own little Derek. But it's such a simple tool, but it's so powerful, and it's having impact. I get messages from people all around Australia that haven't even sat in one of our sessions or aren't part of our immediate community, and they pick up the concept because it is you versus you. Okay, this is Derek. We all have our own Derek. It's individual and unique to ourselves. Whether you're male, female, young or old, we can quickly identify how our Derek looks. And by externalizing our Derek and understanding these behaviors are the behaviors that are holding me back, we can go to war against them. We can compete against it. So my Derek was pressing snooze. It sounds so simple, but win the morning, win the day. Bang, one little task. I've just beaten Derek by getting up on time. And we're all about momentum and stacking those small wins. So the more I beat Derek, it actually puts me on a trajectory of better health, better wealth, better relationships. So it's become quite a powerful tool.
So externalizing your problems and realizing the things that take your energy rather than give you energy
100%.
and keep you static. They makes you spin your wheels.
100%.
And externalizing those, giving it a character. So instead of having a bunch of small problems, you've just got one.
Yeah, and we've been speaking about identity. If all these negative representations, like these behaviors, if I identify myself as lazy, I identify myself as someone who's procrastinating a lot, someone who's not present with their kids, that's my identity. That wears you down. Like wearing that cape, that cloak, that invisible cloak, that can wear you down. And you think, okay, well, that's just who I am. But by having a label, having a Derek, and attaching all those traits to your Derek, you can then go against that and you say, okay, well, my Derek could be doom scrolling. That's not me. So he's over there, you doom scroll. I'm going to go for a walk with the kids. So it's not weighing you down. And it works. So with my young fellas and other people that have kids, when you, I don't know, if you teenage kids, their hygiene or their rooms, it's not high on their priority list.
Not always spick and span.
Exactly. As a parent saying, hey, spray some deodorant. Hey, your room's a pigsty. Bang. You're calling them out. You're calling out their behavior. You're calling them out. Bang. It's a direct attack on me. But if I say to my son, hey mate, come on mate, you've been a bit of a Derek. Look at your room. Straight away. Doesn't make it jovial, but you're targeting their alter ego. You're not targeting them, and they don't want to align with Derek traits. So they're like, oh, I don't want to be a Derek. I want to do the opposite.
So you've taken the realization of habits versus personality, bad habits, and externalizing them, because kids take everything on board. If you say anything about them, it's an attack on them.
Yes, and it's also empowering, like understanding the importance and empowering our decisions. So if I was someone that, wanted to get into the gym, but Derek is telling me, you're not good in the gym. Like, look at all these other people in the gym. Oh, diet starts tomorrow. I'm too tired. I don't have the energy. Right? They become so ingrained in our identity. But by externalizing that as a Derek trait, or as something Derek's saying, I now have the power of choice. I know, okay, well, Derek would say this. What's the opposite to that? So you create that choice, that visible choice. So it's all about empowerment. It's a great tool for that.
So with your boys now, you've given them a platform to understand the situation, even from a young age, and overcome it, whether it's cleaning your room or getting homework done on time. All these challenges and problems, because of that, it's not a reflection of who they are. It's just a lack of experience. Is the way you treat your boys, we're going to pivot a little bit, the way you treat your boys a reflection of what you went through as a kid? Is it a reaction to anything that you experienced and thinking, I don't want my kids to go through that, so I'm going to change?
Yeah. It's loaded. There's the tale of the two brothers. So there's these two brothers, right? Their dad was an alcoholic. One brother's really successful and one brother's an alcoholic. They say the successful one, why are you so successful? He says, because my dad was an alcoholic. They say the alcoholic brother, well, why are you an alcoholic? He says, because my dad was an alcoholic. Everything's perspective in life. You can either mirror what you've experienced, or you can learn from it and tweak it and do the opposite. Now, with the clarity that I have and the understanding, because I've had the time and ability to sit and reflect, I now, with the absence of blame, I can now just take the things that I really like. Like I pick the things, Mum was such a strong woman. I'm going to pick that and I'm going to use that. Dad was so caring and a great provider. I pick that. So we use what works for us and we discard what doesn't. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Would you say that's the power of perspective? You get to understand different people's advice and outlooks and behaviors and pick what you like to sort of give yourself identity.
It's the power of gratitude. I was made to wait for a long time. Why was I made to wait? Maybe I was taking things for granted. Life can be gone at any minute. It can be taken. Look at the crosses on my fingers. We don't know if we have tomorrow. So now I don't take anything for granted.
Being through a lot and learning from experiences, are you learning to live in the present?
You have to. And the presence is the greatest present. It's the greatest present. And I did a video one day. Do you remember a Christmas present you got when you were 6? Birthday present? But you remember how someone made you feel. You always remember how someone made you feel, the time they gave you. And presence doesn't only apply to my own circle, my own family and my own children. Presence is a tool that should never be switched on and off. So now my mission and everything that I've gone through, I live presently with everyone now. I give everyone the time of day. Anyone watching that wants to reach out, that's my mission, that's my goal. And you just can't switch it on and off. You have to keep practicing presence. Because as I said, you don't know what the next season brings. I'd just gone through a pretty freaking cold winter. Buried 7 family members or friends and family in the space of 12 months. Saw my children 3 times in 12 months. Buried my sister, uncles. I lost my business. I lost the house on legal fees. That's a pretty fucking cold winter. You don't know when things can be taken in the blink of an eye. So with presence, I think I mentioned this in a previous pod, I don't want to be a person ever again that is, I had this. From now on, I want to live like a person that says, I have this. And that's my biggest lesson.
I have to go to the gym. I have to take my kids to school. I have to mow the grass. I get to mow the grass.
So
I get
that's
to take the kids to school.
That's another perspective. So with the had and have, there's a difference between saying, I had my kids in my life, to someone who gets to say, I have my kids in my life. That when you start saying the hads, that's when you know something has to fucking change. Because you can't be a person that had. You want to be a person that have. And the have to and the get to, that's another one. That's another game changer. I have to go and see mum and dad this weekend. No, I get to go and see mum and dad this weekend. I have to take the kids to basketball training. No, I bloody get to. That's when you flip the script on that, that's a powerful mode to be living in.
The switch of gratitude.
100%.
Grateful. So, with all these things on board, new mindset, new toolkit, you have the Derek program. What is the Derek program?
So the Derek program, I got through my cold winter. I was talking about before, the winter. It's just a season, it'll pass. But it only passes if you take the appropriate steps to get out of it. Otherwise, you're in this forever winter. So I reverse engineered everything that worked for me. Everything that got me out of those woods, I reverse engineered it and I put it into a program. So the Derek program is a community of amazing people, like-minded individuals, where we focus on connections, our relationships, lifestyle, exploration, our attitude and our routines. And there's a few mottos. So teamwork makes the dream work is a big one. So we have a great group of people around each other. And iron sharpens iron is another good one. So it's equipping everyone with tools, skills, and mindset in order to navigate anything that you're going through to make you a better version that's ever existed. So we make people better communicators. We make them more present in relationships. We change their mindset and their understanding and their perspective and viewpoint on the world. And we set really strong structures and foundations and routines for people to take that next step in their life, to live life to win the video game, to win that video game. So it's about building the platform, the network, the community, and the tools to win the game of life, brother.
Sounds incredible. Sounds very... It's more than helpful.
Well, it is, because look at me, I'm sitting here today. It saved my life. I was leaving the program before I even knew it, and it saved my life. I was able to overcome separation, parental alienation, loss of finances, loss of business, death of a sibling, loss of friends, uncles, family members, all within a footy season. And I'm here, and I'm paying it forward to my community.
Do you see a lot of yourself in the people who join the Derek program?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll say. I do.
Does that make it easier or harder, do you think?
Can you explain that?
Easier in the way you understand what they're going through, or harder in a way that it brings a lot of stuff back?
It just, by walking the walk, I can talk the talk. My understanding, like addiction, I lived that. Substance, I ate that. Separation, I drank that. So I can sit down and I can really resonate with what people are going through. And I'm not an oracle. I'm not some deity. But I can easily say, look, brother or sister, I see you. I hear you. I've walked those steps. This is what really helped me get through it. I'm willing to share it with you. But not only that, here's another 20 people that have walked similar shoes, and they've got your back every step of the way. It's going to be okay. You will go through this. Here it is.
That's powerful. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
And with a lot of the things you spoke about now, you've got these people around you, you're making a difference. You wanted to make a difference in your community and the people who are not so different to you, had similar stories. You're making a difference there, maybe not in the exact way that you intended to, but you're making a difference in those in struggle, in turmoil.
It's a human experience, you know. Pay it forward. Give each other a hand. You know, be kinder to the world. Be kinder. Sometimes someone just needs a hand. Sometimes someone just needs a little bit of a push to take their next couple of steps.
So would you say that a lot of your core values are undoubtedly represented no matter how you get there, whether you're a lawyer, you've got a personal growth aid program, or in whatever way, who you are and what you believe in and what's in your heart will represent itself in your life no matter what?
The human experience doesn't discriminate. It doesn't discriminate. We're all going to take dints and we're all going to experience our winter in some way, shape or form.
Storms.
Our storms.
Everyone's got their storm in their life.
Everyone's got a storm. Do we all have the tools to navigate it? We have a tool. Mine was drinking. Because sometimes we hide from our storm instead of pushing through it. The buffalo, have you seen that?
I haven't.
Buffaloes run through the storm because they know the fastest route to get out of it is to go through it. Whereas the cows, they run away from it and the storm keeps chasing them. We have people in hypercare and we hold their hand through their storms. We instill them with resilience, but also a level of care to say, you know what, you're going to be okay. And I think that if I had that when I was going through my shit, probably would have not only expedited the process of my healing, but it would have helped me with some of those thoughts, you know, those loud thoughts. And I don't want someone to sit in that.
Where you are today, the Wade Hobba I'm talking to, proud father, has been through blood in the mud, is still navigating his life as everyone is. Where you are today, your mindset, everything you've overcome, if you were to look back on yourself at your worst, what would you tell yourself?
Good question. Normally I ask these questions. I would have told myself that this is happening for you, not to you. This is happening for you, not to you. And that's exactly when that light bulb switched for me, and all that pain, I just let it fuel me. Just let it fuel me. Because I knew that the way that I would build after that would be bigger and better than ever.
So you used the pain, and instead of putting it into something that was a temporary fix, something that numbed the pain, you took it head on and you fueled it into something that you knew was going to force growth.
We all have the ability to either be constructive or destructive. Derek's destructive. Best version of me is constructive. So I built myself back. This is my redemption story.
Wow. Good answer. That was a good answer, man. Derek program. It's incredible. It's changing lives. And it's aiding yourself in your self-discovery. Iron sharpens iron. How could people get involved?
So reach out. Catch me on Instagram. The Derek program on Instagram. My website, I had a bloody glitch. So it's offline at the moment. So at the moment, jump in my DMs. The Derek program on Instagram or Wade Hobba on Facebook. Okay. And just dive into the community. We have weekly Zooms. We run master classes. The other one the other week was on resilience. Fantastic. Have guest speakers. We have challenges. I think Damien's at nearly 300 days in a row of swimming. So cold water swimming. He swam all throughout winter. So we have constant challenges. We have a couple of retreats coming up. I've teamed up with Joel. So I'm loving having him part of the Derek program. We've got some boot camp sort of retreats coming up. So there's exciting times for the Derek program, and our network's extending nationally. So we're getting people from all around Australia reaching out. So let's build a really bloody amazing community. That's my mission. So reach out. Don't be a Derek. Just jump on board.
Amazing. And what's ahead? Where's it going? Derek?
We're building a Derek HQ. So the Derek HQ will happen. It'll be a massive community with a physical premises, holistic approach, mind, body, and spirit. There'll be mindset workshops. There'll be the physical element, training, nutrition, emphasis on recovery, saunas, contrast therapy. It's with the element of events, day trips, going out doing 1,000 steps. We're making it big, and we're going to frame up the community and take people on build purpose and build a massive not only community, but just instill purpose and exploration back into each other's lives, because that's what's missing. Like, you have a look. I played cricket for Preston, Northern Suburbs boy, cricket for Preston, hockey for Reservoir, footy at Northgate, footy at Fitzroy, you know. If you're away from your sporting team, if you're working weekends, right, you have an injury and you can't compete anymore. You have kids, so that takes up your time. Where do we go as men, or women for that matter? Where do we go? We lose that connection. We lose that club environment. So for people that can't be part of that club, we're building our own club where you're with amazing people that are pushing and driving you, inspiring you to become the best version that ever existed, and creating that extra layer of support. Iron sharpens iron, and teamwork makes the dream work. So that's what we're building. The Derek program rolling out in schools. It's been a massive tool for young kids. It works with my kids. Doesn't discriminate between young boys and young girls, and just talking about making positive choices, right? Choices around screen time, choices around cybersecurity, choices around communication with yourself, all right? Choices around relationships with other people. So rolling this out into schools and just making an impact, not a reactionary impact. So a lot of people that are on Derek at the moment, it's a reactionary choice. I am here, I want to be there. But Derek in schools is proactive, helping younger kids. My background in youth justice as a youth worker, helping young kids not have to make the mistakes that I went through, giving them the toolkit so when their obstacles and challenges do arrive, they're equipped to be able to manage them. So that is the future for Derek. If anyone wants to reach out and wants to help and assist, you know where to find me.
Amazing. Just quickly on that, what you've just explained to me, I can see a light in your eyes. I can see that this is something you obviously really care about, but it's something that's been waiting. It's been sitting here patiently through all of this, everything you've been through. It's always been there. And you mentioned how you wanted to be a lawyer, and you said one specific word. You said help and make a difference. And what you're doing now is nothing short of that.
I appreciate it, brother.
Wasn't the path that you originally aimed to take, but you get in there in the end. Absolutely.
That's the path I was meant to take, wasn't it?
That's right. Everything happens for a reason. Do you believe in that?
Well, my obstacles become my lessons, and now I can pay it forward to others. You know, this ripple effect will extend far and wide. Even people that don't jump on the Derek community, it's already impacting them. So let's see how far we can spread it. Spruik the message. Not today, Derek. It might help. Not today, Derek. And it might, you never know who it helps, because it can be that little oomph, that little bit of inspiration for someone to say, do you know what? I'm going to try something different. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to do something else. And that's all they might need. Just that, not today, Derek. And then puts them on a path to become a better version. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. What's ahead for you?
For me?
Wade Hobba.
Just enjoy what I have. Just enjoy what I have. Just smile. Be a dad again. And just, and just continue to support others as they support me. It's my pay it forward moment. Yeah. And just, this ride that I'm on, it's exciting. And just not letting it, just, how do I explain it? Just enjoying the ride. Because it's tricky, you know, starting up something from scratch. It's bloody hard. A lot of pressure. But pressure makes diamonds, and I enjoy every minute of it. And there's this thing that I live by, choose your hard. Is it hard being a single dad? Yeah, it's hard. But it's bloody harder being without him. Is it hard starting up a program that extends around the country? Yeah, that's hard. But is it harder having to get another cross because someone, you know, can't deal with their winter? I'd never want that again. So I choose my heart, and this isn't my heart. As you said, this is my passion. I don't feel like I work. I just live. And how blessed am I to have that opportunity? Yeah. So thank you for giving me the platform.
Amazing. Thank you, man. Thanks, Wade. That's it.
Not today, Derek.
Smashed it, man.
Thank you.
No, this isn't going to be in there, but tradition, man.
Yeah, tradition.
Good shit, bro. Good shit, man.
Thank you.